In 1932, a mother down in Appalachia fed 7 mouths on barely $12 a month. Not a week, a month. And somehow, every one of those children got by. She did it with simple kitchen tricks, the kind folks today would overlook, but back then, they meant everything. And here's the kicker. One of these tricks turns scraps into something folks now pay $12 for at places like Whole Foods Market. These weren't just recipes, they were survival. And chances are, you've forgotten every single one. Let's count them down. Number 10. The drippings jar. Now this was a must-have in any kitchen back then. The drippings jar. Sat right by the stove, usually an old jar or tin, catching every bit of grease from bacon, chicken, or beef. Nothing got thrown out. You cooked, strained it, and saved it for the next meal. Because butter, that cost money, and oil wasn't always around. But this right here, it was already paid for. Folks fried eggs in it, cooked up potatoes, baked cornbread, even spread a little on bread when times were tight. It added flavor, sure, but more than that, it made sure nothing went to waste. Then, somewhere along the way, people started tossing it like it didn't matter. Now that same cooking fat's being sold in jars for a premium. Back then, it was just plain common sense. Number 9. Wacky Cake. Now here's one that sounds like a joke, but folks swore by it. They called it Wacky Cake, and for good reason. No eggs, no butter, no milk. Now you tell that to someone today, they'll look at you sideways and say, that ain't cake. But back then, it was the only kind many families could make. Everything went straight into the pan. Flour, sugar, cocoa, a little baking soda, then vinegar and water. And here's the clever part. That vinegar reacted with the baking soda and made the whole thing rise just like eggs would. You didn't need fancy ingredients. You needed to understand what you had. And when it came out of the oven, soft, chocolatey, and good enough to put a smile on a kid's face, even in hard times. Nowadays, folks call it vegan cake and charge a pretty penny for a slice. Back then, it was just what you baked when the icebox was empty, but you still wanted something sweet on the table. Number 8. Stretching meat with oatmeal. Now, this one right here, butchers didn't care much for it. And you can probably guess why. See, meat was expensive, real expensive. A pound of ground beef had to feed a whole family, not just 1 or 2 folks. So what did they do? They stretched it. A handful of rolled oats soaked till soft got mixed right into the meat. And once it was cooked up, you could hardly tell the difference. It held the juices, kept everything tender, and made a small portion go a whole lot further. Meatloaf, patties, even skillet dinners. Suddenly there was enough for everybody at the table. And here's the thing. It didn't feel like you were missing out. It still tasted hearty, still filled you up. These days, folks might call it a filler, like it's a bad thing. Back then, though, it was the difference between someone getting a plate or going without. Number 7. Bone broth. Now, back then, you didn't throw bones away. That would have been downright foolish. Every scrap had a purpose, and bones, well, they were the start of something mighty useful. After a roast or chicken dinner, all those leftover bones went straight into a big pot, covered with water, maybe an onion, a carrot if you had one, and a splash of vinegar. Then it just sat there simmering low and slow for hours. What came out wasn't just broth. It was rich, thick, and full of flavor. Sometimes it had even set up like jelly once it tooled. That pot became the backbone of the kitchen for days. Soup, gravy, beans, you name it. Nowadays, they call it bone broth, put it in a fancy carton, and charge good money for it. Back then, though, it was just what you made when you had sense enough to not waste the bones. Number 6. Dandelion green salad. Most people today see dandelions and think one thing: weeds. During the Depression, folks saw a free meal growing right outside the door. Early in the season, before those yellow flowers showed up, the leaves were picked while they were still tender, washed up real careful because you didn't want any grit, then brought straight into the kitchen. The magic came with the dressing. Hot bacon grease poured over the greens with a splash of vinegar and a pinch of sugar. That heat softened the leaves just enough and took the sharp edge off the bitterness. What you ended up with was something bold, slightly tangy, and surprisingly filling, especially with a piece of cornbread on the side. And here's the kicker: those greens carried more nutrients than a lot of vegetables people were paying for. These days, you'll find the same idea dressed up on fancy menus as wild greens or foraged salad. Funny how something once picked out of necessity now gets served like a delicacy. Number 5. Perpetual Soup Pot. Now this one wasn't just a recipe, it was a system that kept a family fed day after day. A big pot sat on the stove and it never really got emptied. You'd start with water, maybe a bone or two, whatever vegetables were on hand, and let it simmer. But here's where it gets clever. Every time there were scraps, potato ends, carrot tops, a spoonful of leftover beans, it all went right back into that same pot. Nothing wasted, everything added. Each day, the flavor got deeper, richer, like it had a memory of every meal that came before it. You didn't dump it out, you kept it going. Just added a little water, brought it back to a boil, and kept feeding it. Some folks might raise an eyebrow at that today, but the heat kept it safe, and families relied on it. One pot stretching ingredients across an entire week. That wasn't just cooking, that was making sure nobody went to bed hungry. Number 4. Potato peel soup. Most kitchens today peel potatoes and send those skins straight into the trash without a second thought. There was a time when that would have been unthinkable. Those peels went into a pot with water, onion scraps, maybe a bit of celery if it was around. Nothing fancy, just odds and ends that still had something left to give. Let it simmer a while and something interesting happened. The starch from the peels thickened the water, pulled out minerals, built a broth that had real substance to it. Strain it out, add a pinch of salt, maybe stretch it further with stale bread or a little cornmeal, and suddenly you had a meal where there wasn't one before. It wasn't about making something impressive, it was about recognizing value where others saw none. Today, people talk about reducing food waste like it's a new idea. For families back then, it was simply how you got through the week. Number 3. Vinegar Uses. There was always a bottle of vinegar in the house, and it wasn't just sitting there for salads. That one bottle handled a whole list of problems. Got a sore throat? Mixed with warm water and honey, it turned into a simple gargle. Sunburn acting up? Dabbed on with a cloth to cool the skin. Even hair rinses used it to clean things up when soap was scarce. And it didn't stop there. Vinegar doubled duty in the kitchen too. Vegetables that were about to spoil got pickled and stretched for weeks instead of days. It worked because it's acidic, keeps bacteria in check, preserves what would have gone bad. Nowadays, people buy separate products for every little problem. Different bottles, different labels, all adding up. All that time, one plain jug sitting on the shelf could handle most of it just fine. It wasn't fancy, but it got the job done. Number 2. Root cellar. The whole system. Before refrigerators hummed in every kitchen, food didn't spoil, it was managed. Out back, or sometimes beneath the house, there was a root cellar. Cool, dark, steady. Nature did the work electricity does now. Potatoes were tucked into crates, apples wrapped one by one, carrots buried in sand to keep them crisp. Cabbages hung from the ceiling like they were waiting their turn. And it wasn't just storage, it was planning. You didn't just toss things in there. You knew what would last, what needed air, what had to stay dry. Done right, that cellar could carry a family through winter without stepping foot in a store. No monthly bill, no noise, just quiet, steady preservation. These days, folks call it sustainable living and try to rebuild it from scratch. Back then, it was simply part of the house and part of staying ahead of hard times. Number 1, the whole system. Here's the truth. It was never just one trick. It was the way people thought. Nothing in that house had a single use. A chicken wasn't just dinner. First came the roast, then sandwiches, then the bones into broth. That broth turned into soup, and whatever was left got stretched one more time. Same with everything else. Bread went stale, it got revived, or turned into something new. Clothes wore out, they were patched, then repurposed, then used again until there was nothing left to give. Things didn't go from useful to trash in one step. They moved through stages, each one squeezing out a little more value. That mindset is what kept families going when money ran dry. Today, it's easy to miss that. Everything feels replaceable. But in 1920s, survival came down to one simple idea. Use it fully, then find one more use after that. Those old-school habits weren't about being cheap, they were about staying alive when times got tough. Funny thing is, a lot of that know-how still holds up today. Maybe it's worth bringing a few of those tricks back into the kitchen and seeing just how far they can go.